The Catalan Atlas, which featured the image of Mansa Musa, was drawn up in 1375, several decades after his death. The fact that the West African monarch was remembered after all these years, enough to put his face on a map, is a testament to the stunning spell he cast. A Spanish, more specifically a Majorcan cartographer named Abraham Crescas, was responsible for composing the Catalan Atlas. He had been hired by Prince John of Aragon to create a map of the known world. The Catalan Atlas was a standard and mainstay for medieval explorers. Of course, the known world at the time excluded the Americas and Antarctica. In the portion of the Catalan Atlas that designated West Africa lay the depiction of Mansa Musa, seated on a throne with a nugget of pure gold in his raised hand. All the intrepid explorers who consulted the map saw the noble visage of Mansa Musa staring back at them and wondered who he was. Thanks to new archaeological findings, the once confusing puzzle has started to come together in recent years. Africa has always been a place of wealth and wonder, and for that reason, it attracted people from afar. As early as 400, local African kingdoms found themselves in a power struggle over who would control the wealth. Ghana came to prominence around 300, although it would not reach its peak until the 9th century. When the Kingdom of Ghana went into decline, Mali became a significant force. The Mali Empire began controlling all of the major trade routes, which stretched from the rainforest to the south to the Saharan deserts of North Africa. Since gold was taken from the south to the north, the leaders of Mali were able to control the gold trade. Gold-laden camels traveling to and from Mali would become a common occurrence. Ruler Abu Bakr II, the predecessor to the man under discussion, tried to cross the Atlantic nearly 150 years before Christopher Columbus. The Scandinavians had long discovered the continent, but it was not a big deal for them since Europe had enough spoils to last them a lifetime. As such, the discovery of Leif Erikson was not well known in the medieval world. Abu Bakr II prepared a fleet of 200 ships and left for the New World, never to be seen or heard from again. With their ruler thought to be lost for good, Musa became the empire's new leader, becoming Mansa Musa in the process. An Arab scholar, Al-Umari, recorded Musa's words regarding his ascension. Still, the legend of his ascension is fueled by various anecdotal threads. Some historians claim that some people from Mali did reach the New World because remnants of nicotine, a purely American product at the time, have been found on Egyptian mummies. Whether or not Musa's predecessor reached the New World, the Mali Empire continued to flourish. Mansa Musa's imperial leadership of the empire started around the year 1312. Not much is known about his wife, Inari Kunate, except that she bore him a son named Magan. In the Mali Empire, it was common for men to have multiple wives, so Inari was probably his principal wife and queen. Mansa Musa sat on a grand seat of ebony flanked by elephant tusks in his palace in Niani, the capital city of Mali. One of the first edicts imposed by Mansa Musa declared that Islam would be the state religion of the Mali Empire. Despite this decree, he was more or less tolerant of other beliefs in his region. He was an ardent believer in the idea that forced conversions were a lost cause. Still, his love for his religion had forced him to employ it as the official belief system. After all, his faith set in motion the most famous story associated with his name, his trip to Mecca to perform Hajj. Since Mali's conversion to Islam, Arab traders were a significant part of the trading network in Africa. The process of Islamization came with the construction of several mosques, so the Arabs felt right at home. The trade had further increased the wealth of the land, and Musa became one of the wealthiest people in the history of the world. It is a senseless task to compare the wealth of different historical figures and empires, but the claim that Mansa Musa may have been the richest man to ever walk the face of the planet is not quite so outlandish. His abundance of wealth meant that Hajj, the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca, was a mandatory religious ritual. In Islam, the only condition for not performing Hajj is to lack the ability to do so. For a man in perfect health with a ridiculous amount of gold, there was no reason not to perform it. The journey would take him through the deserts of North Africa, into Egypt, and then into the Arab world. An intriguing narrative claims that Mansa Musa accidentally killed his mother and was so ridden with guilt that he decided to make the trip. According to this version of the story, Musa gave the poor an excessive amount of alms. When he asked the cleric to advise him about the ordeal that had brought him such grief, he was told to seek sanctuary with the prophet so that he could request him to intervene on his behalf with Allah. Other versions claim that he was given a date to start the journey. West African historian David C. Conrad says that the diviners, without much rhyme or reason, told Mansa Musa he should wait until a Saturday that would fall on the 12th day of the month. This meant that he had to wait 9 months before he could leave, which he did. Musa collected goods from all over the empire, gathered the best teachers and scholars to accompany him, formed a retinue of 60,000 subjects, 12,000 of them said to be members of his imperial court, and took off. People who usually set off on this journey were wary of bandits on the path, but with 8,000 soldiers surrounding his camels carrying 24,000 pounds of gold, no such danger would have befallen him. Many have speculated that Mansa Musa looked at his spiritual needs and found a pragmatic way of realizing them, turning the tour into a diplomatic outing. With places like Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and Arab in his way, he could establish political ties with several empires and kingdoms. The oral historians of the Mali Empire, the Griots, recorded that Musa, taking inspiration from Abraham's tale in the Quran, had 4 birds killed and placed on 4 hills of Niani. According to Musa's testimony, the Griots further attest that time stopped as he watched all of his subjects and even animals freeze in place. Musa claimed an angel visited him and briefly talked to him before commanding the birds to return. The chopped birds miraculously reformed themselves, joined the halo of light, and took off over the horizon. Shortly after the divine intervention, he mounted his black stallion and signaled his entourage that he was ready to depart for Mecca. As he had left his empire, he relied on couriers to communicate with his advisors and governmental bodies. The empire went on as usual. Whenever someone in the entourage died, their body needed to be buried. Still, it was pretty much a light crease on an overall splendid tour. The encampments would find the time to make merry and have fun. The emperor's subjects contributed their labor to various tasks in between the parties and joyous activities. Outsiders who saw this spectacle in the Sahara could not bear to believe that it was not a mirage. Musa celebrated his birthday at the outskirts of Gurara, where no stone was left unturned in service of the event. After the brief stop for festivities, the entourage continued on its path, handing out gifts to whomever the emperor pleased. They reached their first milestone, the oasis of Tuat, the North African region located in the modern-day city of Algeria. Here, Mansa Musa met with traders from Morocco, an important regional player in that era, to understand its culture. Much of Musa's life and the lives of several of his successors would be spent prioritizing diplomatic relations with the Moroccan Sultanate above all else. Eventually, he reached Ghat in Libya. From here on out, instances of human habitation would continue to decrease in frequency. Hysteria took over the entire group in one of these desolate patches as an illness started to take over. A young man offered his advice to employ a shamanistic folk remedy by killing a few camels. Musa heeded his advice, and the remedy worked. He was so impressed by the young man that he employed him in his court. When they reached Egypt, they waited just outside the famed pyramids while an official sent by Al-Nasir Muhammad, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, came to officially invite the Malian emperor to an audience with the Sultan. Upon arriving in Cairo, he became the guest of honor at the Sultan's house, who also gave him various gifts. Musa, in turn, wanted to show his benevolence, so he bestowed gifts upon the general populace of Egypt. He shelled out so much gold to the people that he crashed the gold market in the region. The overall value of gold in Egypt rose to as much as 25%. It took a decade of gold's value to return anywhere near its original level. As the Egyptian summer turned to fall, Musa was once again on his way. He and his companions soon crossed the Red Sea and entered the Arab region. Before reaching Mecca, he stopped at Medina, the second most sacred city in Islam, where the mortal remains of the Prophet Muhammad rest. After paying his respects in Medina, he made his way to the outskirts of Mecca. Mecca served as a major trading hub in the region, even before the rise of Islam, and traded with its neighbors such as Yemen, Ethiopia, Syria, the Byzantine Empire, and far-off regions like India. Mansa Musa had offered Hajj. Now he had to head back as a Haji. He persuaded the local authorities to send some descendants of Muhammad back with him to help him establish a valid version of Islam in Mali. He also hired many other people to head back with him, like the famed architect from Spanish Grenada, Abu Ishaq Ibrahim as-Saheli. Before heading back, he sat down with his most trusted griot and told him, "I should carry myself before you like the happiest man in the world. We have crossed half the world without a major trial, apart from the death of my favorite slave and the loss of a score of our companions. We have been received everywhere according to our station, welcomed, supported, and protected. We have seen, in the latter regard, how other sovereigns act, their traditions, and their works. As you so love to say, in due time we will do as the bees, making the same honey from many different flowers. We have acquired objects of great import for the material and spiritual well-being of our subjects. During our absence, our kingdom has known peace and prosperity." The journey back was not as fun as the first one. The stretch from Mecca to Cairo was rough, and by the time he reached Cairo, he was broke. Most of the wealth of the world's richest man was back home. Getting caught in sandstorms and losing his way further discouraged the group. He had to resort to taking loans from Egyptian financiers to continue provisioning his caravan for the journey to Mali. Eventually, he did reach Mali and found it just as he had left it. Central to the legacy of Mansa Musa is his pilgrimage to Mecca, during which he gave away so much of his wealth that he found his treasury lacking on the way back home. Despite being the richest man in the world, or maybe because of it, he was an extraordinarily generous and open-hearted emperor. To learn more about Mansa Musa, check out our book, Mansa Musa, a captivating guide to the emperor of the Islamic Mali Empire in West Africa, and how he developed Timbuktu into a major center for trade. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free mythology bundle ebook while they're still available. All links are in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.